Cleveland is Cleveland, and the Elves, as Jamar Chase called them, were able to put some coal in the Bengals' stocking this afternoon on week 1. Jim Schwartz is exactly what this defense needed, in my opinion. The defensive line for the Browns was a huge issue all game for the Bengals, and Cincinnati did try to game plan around it with some quick passes and screens and things like that, but the issue was that the cornerbacks for the Browns are also pretty darn good and were able to stick on the Bengals receivers pretty well. The Bengals run game ran into the same defensive line that the passing game was running into, so they didn't get quite going on a consistent basis, and while you could try to put the Browns' success on defense on some of the weather conditions, I mean, the Browns' defense can't help what the weather looks like. They did a good job of killing any chance of momentum for the Bengals, and Burrow just didn't have the same kind of snappy connections that he had with guys like T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. Maybe missing a lot of camp will do that to you, but again, the Browns defense was definitely swarming for the entire 60 minutes in this one, and that's even without safety Juan Thornhill, as he was out suffering a calf injury he's been dealing with throughout the week. Rodney McLeod started in his place. Denzel Ward was cleared to play off of concussion protocol, so that was a bit of good news for the Browns heading into this. No rookie defensive tackle Siaki Ika either. I do think the Browns kind of anticipated the Bengals trying to play a bit of a quick out kind of short pass game to try to mitigate some of the defensive line issues, and Siaki Ika maybe a bit too big, maybe a little too slow for that kind of game plan the Bengals were rolling with, but either way, it seemed like the Browns defense was ready for whatever the Bengals offense was trying to throw at them. Now, the defensive game, as far as I was concerned, was pretty much perfect. I have no issue. Their only points came after a pass interference call, so not a whole lot you can do there besides don't get called for pass interference, I guess. But I have no criticisms of the defensive game from the Browns. Again, Jim Schwartz seems like he knows exactly what this team needs as far as scheme and where to put guys in the right places, and they sure did have themselves a game. I mean, sending Myles Garrett as essentially a nose tackle, pressure up the middle, and he got to the quarterback. I don't think he ended up with a sack on the play, but just throwing the Bengals off in every which way that he could. A tremendous game from the defense. Can't say anything negative about them. Special teams, too. Special teams was amazing. The coverages were disciplined. We saw Mike Ford Jr. and Matthew Adams. We saw why the Browns sought them in free agency to get on the special teams unit. Bojorquez punting the ball and Dustin Hopkins kicking the ball both were tremendous at their jobs. It was really nice to see those those low 40-yarders and not having a heart attack every time seeing somebody like Cade York going up there. Dustin Hopkins, veteran presence, been there for a while. He's been really good the past couple of seasons. So special teams and defense, perfect. The offense, maybe not as much to rave about. The Amari Cooper and Jack Conklin injuries that happened during the game aren't good. Hopefully, neither of those are long-term, but Jack Conklin's kind of looked pretty rough. Jerome Ford had a fumble. That looked like it might have been costly early on. I believe the game was still 3-0 at that point. Didn't end up mattering, though. The passing game, it was pretty rough all games. There were some positive moments for the passing game, but it was mostly kind of gross. However, on games like these, when it's bad weather and neither offense is really clicking at least at first, it is a really great thing to have Nick Chubb and this offensive line. More often than not, the run game was producing decent to good yardage, and even if there was maybe a play or two where Nick Chubb was swarming in the backfield, the next play he would make up for it with a 5 to 8 yard gain or something like that. It was amazing to watch. DeJuan Jones, who came in after Jack Conklin got hurt, he looked the part of a starting right tackle. He didn't really miss a beat. Maybe that's just because at that point in the game, the Bengals were already getting a little bit worn down by the offensive line. But yeah, DeJuan Jones looked really good. He wasn't noticeably bad, which is the threshold for most of us watching on television, watching the offensive line. We're not really quite sure what all they're doing all that good, but if we're not noticing how bad they are, that usually means that they're doing a pretty darn good job. Nick Chubb did break 100 yards rushing. Watson did use his legs at times, including during his first touchdown of the season. Speaking of Deshaun Watson, he had a pretty rough day passing, as did Joe Burrow. Watson did get that short passing touchdown at the end of the game, but that really was just to kind of make his stats look a little bit better. There were some accuracy issues with him in this game. Had an interception that was a tipped ball, but again, that's on Watson for having a throw that got tipped. You could blame that on weather conditions, but to be quite honest, I'm not quite sure if he's earned that automatic benefit of the doubt in a Browns uniform. I still kind of have him as a question mark. I'm not going to say that he's definitely never going to return to what he was in 2020, but I'm still waiting for signs of an elite performance from him. And he did have some good plays, like again the passing game. It did have its bright moments, but I do feel I'm not fully jumping in on the Watson's back to what he once was on the field. The jury's still out on him as a passer, in my opinion. Maybe the weather will be a bit more neutral on Monday Night Football. We can get a better, a more accurate read on him then. But in the meantime, I'll just take this dominant showing against an AFC North rival that was favorited to win the division. In the meantime, Watson not looking all that great. I mean, that's something that will get figured out in the weeks to come. But for right now, I'm going to enjoy the win over the Bengals. Maybe the odds of who's going to win the AFC North shift a little bit after this week. Maybe Vegas tries to maybe mess with the lines a little bit, but who knows. That's going to be pretty much it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far into it, not a whole long laundry list, not a big long video, because quite honestly, there's not a whole lot to go over. The Cleveland Browns just kind of got away with whatever they wanted to do against the Bengals, and that's essentially what happened. So not a whole lot to cover. I don't have too many complaints, and the praises that I can give the Browns, it's fairly simple. They were able to take a dreary game on a bad weather day and make it their own. They kind of dominated the Bengals in an environment where they were meant to be kind of the team that dominated the other team with the running game and the offensive line and the defensive improvements. Everything kind of clicked in week 1. Hopefully, I will see them continue to do that in the weeks to come. So thank you all for watching. Leave a like and a subscribe if you enjoyed the video and you would like to see more like it. I'll see you at the next one.